My dad gave me some advice when I started dating. He said men of value don't accept disrespect, manipulation, or lies from women. Be true to yourself. Always be a man of value. But I had just been promoted to CFO. Missing this meeting would be bad for the company and our future. I'm really sorry. Are you serious? We've been planning this for so long. Now at the last minute you're canceling. I'm going alone. Do you realize how embarrassing this is for me? Can't someone else go instead? This deal is worth over $2 billion. I'm leading it. We've been working hard for the past year. No one else can take my place. A lot of people's jobs depend on our success. I know it's hard. I'll make it up to you with the bonus from this deal. She was angry. Stop talking to me. Let me sleep in the guest room. No intimacy until I travel. No sex either. It's not normal. Her coldness and anger weren't like her. I tried to understand her, but couldn't ease her anger. Her ex-husband cheated on her during her life-threatening illness. Carol's ex-husband cheated on her and left her during her life-threatening illness. Because he couldn't handle the slow pace of her recovery. This hit Carol hard. It worsened her situation. But after a miraculous recovery, Carol filed for divorce on the grounds of abandonment. And struggled with depression for the next 5 years. All her friends and family were by her side, trying to cheer her up. But none of it seemed to work. Her closest friends and bridesmaids were by her side from the beginning. I know how much that meant to Vera. I'm sorry to have to cancel the wedding. But there was nothing I could do. The next morning, I wanted to give Vera a goodbye kiss. But our bedroom door was locked. She didn't open it. I expressed my love for her and promised to call her as soon as I arrived in Germany. I called her before the plane took off. But her call went to voicemail. I left her another apology message, hoping to get a reply. I sent a text message before the plane took off. 10 hours later on landing I sent another one. No reply was received. When I arrived in Germany and checked into my hotel, I called my CEO for an update. To my horror, I found out that the meeting had been cancelled due to a death in the family of the CEO of another company. The meeting was cancelled midnight. I figured I could arrive by 9 p.m. and be a supportive husband to her. I believe this move will bring her happiness. After I rented the car, the GPS helped me find my way to the wedding hall. When I got there, the party was already in full swing. It was filled with loud music, dancing and tons of booze. Many of the guests were obviously having a good time. Some had a little too much to drink. Her ex-husband, Dr. Clayton Adams, was doing his residency at Mercy Hospital at the time. Their marriage ended when he was unfaithful to a nurse at his workplace. The divorce hit her hard both emotionally and financially. Because residents don't make much money, the divorce settlement split what little money they had. Vera started working as a waitress to pay the bills. Facing hard times, the experience gave her a deep understanding of what Carol was going through. When Vera and I first met, it was like a storybook romance. I was immediately enamored by her, even though she had been hurt in the past. And sad. Her beauty initially attracted me. But it was her kindness and compassion that really conquered me. I supported her in overcoming her difficulties, helping her change her life. To make her life better, we spent 19 wonderful years together. We raised our twin daughters with love. Vera appreciated the honest and direct way I handled our relationship. We often talk about how important loyalty and commitment are. It gave her a sense of security. Our marriage is built on trust, loyalty and commitment. It was these values that brought us together. Until the accident at the wedding, Vera was still beautiful at 44. And at 5 years younger than her, I'm in tip-top shape. Thanks to my dedication to fitness and running. Our intimacy is very strong. The age gap between us has never been an issue. Our twin daughters, Martha and Carly, are doing well academically in college. Full of energy. excited about their future. We had a happy and fulfilling family and a marriage that seemed unbreakable. It didn't take long. I felt like my world was starting to fall apart. I was about to intervene to break up their cozy moment. Vera suddenly stood up, took his hand, leading him towards the dance floor. Vera was wearing a form-fitting ivory gown. She looked incredible. It was obvious. Vera had been drinking. Her flirty demeanor gave her away. I knew it was likely to happen. She often became more intimate and playful with me after a few drinks. This was usual for her. But what was unusual or unacceptable was her kissing another man publicly. Especially in front of her friends. This betrayal made me feel ashamed and angry. Watching my wife share intimate moments. Watching him boldly touch her inappropriately and exchange kisses with her. I was overwhelmed with shock and anger. I got really angry. Just as I was about to step in and stop it, they moved her back to a side table. Started kissing. It was like they were on their honeymoon. Just before I was about to go up and stop them, I realized my marriage was over. I remembered what my dad always said, "Hey, respect yourself. Don't put up with people treating you badly." So I decided to do something about it. But I kept my cool. I could have caused an uproar. Ruined the perfect wedding. But I thought, if she liked him, she can have him. She's not mine anymore. Then I sent her a text. Guess what? Honey. My meeting got postponed. I'm back early. Looks like you're in for a treat tonight. I'll be home. I guess you'll be staying with Dr. Clayton tonight. Got it. Now why you've been ignoring my calls and texts. Here's to the end of our marriage. I'll be gone by the time you get back tomorrow. I hit send. Then looked at her calmly. Curious if she would see the text. Looking at her, I saw her cell phone light up. She noticed it. Picked it up and started to press the buttons clearly. When I noticed her reaction, I immediately left the party. Went to the car. She must have freaked out when she saw me go. But I made it outside before she caught up with me. My cell phone was ringing off the hook. But I was too upset. Didn't even think to answer her call. If she wanted to go back to her ex. It was obvious we were over. My phone had been flooded with desperate texts. Tony. Please come back. I need to explain. I love you. Please come back. Fucking Tony. It's not what you think. I love you. But after 2 days of long flights, she didn't return calls or texts. She was cold. Seeing her with Clayton. I'm not interested in hearing her explanation. I was already pissed off. Didn't want anything more to do with her. And don't want to hear her excuses anymore. After ignoring 20 calls and texts, I finally stopped. Sent a text back. Saying forget about you. My job is fine. My kids are in college. Everything is in place. I can do whatever I want. On the 7-hour trip back to Nashville, I stopped at a diner for a bite to eat. Then I took a nap in the car. Continuing my journey home, I changed my Facebook status from happily married. Changed it to single. Then uploaded 2 photos I took of Willa and Clayton passionately kissing at their wedding. In the second photo, his hand is clearly on her breast. Interesting. Her ex-boyfriend Clayton is almost 50 years old. Bald. Overweight. And honestly, by all accounts, he's not an upgrade. I'm not the kind of person who tolerates that kind of disrespect. Some might say it was just a kiss and some petting. Not worth leaving her for. But in my opinion, either my woman is faithful to me, or she is free to be with someone else. We all make our own choices. 00 a.m. When I turned on my cell phone, it started. Ding, ding, ding. Rings out. There were dozens of notifications. So many that I felt like I couldn't stop. There must have been over 100 messages from her, her parents, her sister and friends. I got along well with her family. When they called me that morning, I answered their call and explained to her dad what had happened. James. I didn't know she was unhappy with our marriage. But the cheating was the death blow to our happy life. The disrespect she showed in front of people we knew was more than I could tolerate. It was obvious. She still has feelings for that asshole. So now she can be with him. I intend to find a woman who will appreciate what I bring to the table and remain faithful. James. I have no other choice. I'm moving out today. Sell the house right away in the morning. She made her choice. But I don't think it's wise. James arrived over an hour later. He pleaded with me to talk to her before taking drastic measures. But when he asked me to give her a chance to explain, I pointed to the photo again. The photo of how they were openly caressing each other at the wedding. I couldn't tolerate such a thing. Especially with her ex-husband. Her dad was disappointed in her behavior and my quick decision. When I stepped into the house, I felt tears streaming down my face. I realized that our once happy home was now just an empty shell of our marriage. For the past 5 years, we turned our house into our ideal home. Back then mortgage rates were below 2. As an accountant, I chose to refinance at the full value of the house, withdrawing nearly $500,000 in equity. I immediately set up trust funds for each of our daughters. $200 million. For their college education. And started a little extra money for their lives. Due to lower interest rates, the monthly payment only increased by $700 from before the assets were withdrawn. It was an obvious choice, despite my repeated attempts to explain stock options to her. But she was clearly not interested. But that didn't bother me. I looked forward to our happy future. The merger coincided with the end of my marriage. I am committed to receiving approximately 40. If the merger goes through, I will receive stock option awards of approximately 40,000 shares. I'll have to wait a few years before I can exercise these options. But the stock price is expected to reach $100 per share. This boosts my confidence in the future. Because the merger has been delayed, the options will not count toward the divorce settlement. However, my anger and humiliation now overshadowed any feelings or memories I had of her. I just want revenge. To make her realize what she has lost. He was my husband. We were very close. Until he was unfaithful. That's when our marriage ended. We were close. Very close. But he wasn't as special to me as Tony. My current husband is much more attractive. A great companion. I really love him. I think I'm drunk. Upset that Tony wasn't there for me. I should have stopped. But it felt good. Clayton still seemed like the perfect partner for me in some ways. I thought flirting was harmless. Clayton kissed me again. I was happy inside. His kisses reminded me of times past. I felt aroused. We were dancing in a private place. I thought it was okay to kiss and get a little close. Because other people were also enjoying the party. Probably wouldn't notice us. Suddenly, I got a text message on my cell phone. It could be Tony looking at me. Then Tony's text said he was here. I couldn't see him at first. But then I thought I saw him leave. I panicked. Realized I needed to explain. But then worried that he might have seen me with Clayton. It was confusing for a while. I told Clayton I needed to go to the ladies' room. I stormed out of the wedding. My heart was beating fast. I noticed the exit door slowly closing down the hall. I rushed over to it. My heels clacked on the floor. I sent him many messages. But he didn't reply to any of them. He was really angry. I can't say I understand why. 2 of my friends found me kneeling outside in the bitter cold. wondering what had happened. When I told them everything, they were shocked by what I had done and worried about what it would mean for my marriage. They knew Tony well, knew he wouldn't let this go easily. 00 a.m. I sat at the kitchen table gathering my music things, sipping my last cup of coffee in the house we've made our home. I feel a mixture of grief and anger. After drinking it, I leave the empty cup in the sink and wrote her a short note in it. I instructed her not to call me. Once the divorce papers were ready, we'd talk. I didn't even sign the note, just left my wedding ring on it. As a final gesture before I left for the last time, I opened my laptop, split our funds, and cancelled our joint credit card. Emptied the balance. From today onwards, she's responsible for herself. If she contests the divorce, she'll have to handle all the bills alone. If she agrees to the divorce, we can then quickly end this failed marriage, and she could return to her beloved clients. I drove away from my former sanctuary into a strange, dark new world. Her friends were worried about her, felt bad for her. They tried to contact me multiple times, leaving voicemails and texts. In case she crashed the wedding reception, they took her back to the hotel room, put her to sleep, checked on her multiple times throughout the night. The next morning, when she woke up and realized what had happened, she called me several times, begging me to forgive her, and asked me to call her back. However, after witnessing her behavior, I wanted nothing more to do with her, and ignored all her attempts to contact her. Sunday morning, I woke up with a bad hangover and the fear of divorce. And then I realized, Tony told my dad he couldn't come pick me up. He needed a ride himself. From the worried look on my dad's face, I must have looked terrible. My dad is my source of strength. So when I saw him, I rushed over to him and hugged his shoulders and cried, "Dad, I screwed up. I think Tony must have been sad when he left me." He gently comforted his upset daughter. "I talked to him this morning. There doesn't seem to be much hope. You know what, Tony? What you're thinking. And Clayton, I don't know what happened to me. I was drunk. I'm mad at Tony because he didn't come to the wedding. I know I made a mistake, but he has to forgive me. Dad, I didn't even sleep with him. Honey. Oh my God. From the pictures I've seen, it could be the same. I'm not sure he's the type to forgive me. Especially since I knew Tony. Being with another man like in that photo, it was a betrayal for him. When I got home, I hoped to find Tony waiting for me. But I knew he was long gone. With the same man who betrayed me all those years ago. Tony, the man I loved and cherished, seemed to have vanished in an instant. His wedding ring and a short note left on the table, confirming this fact. My boss, Bill, is also a good friend of mine. He went through a similar situation a few years ago. He even suggested that I postpone collecting my stock options for this year until a later date, to get a better advantage. The next day, I went to the 16th floor office. It was clear to me that there was no way Vera could get past security to see me. When Vera tried to visit me on Monday, she quickly realized, despite all her efforts, but she was still unable to see or talk to me at her workplace. In this situation, my daughters approached me in a panic, urging me to talk to their mother. I firmly but calmly explained to them. Their mother had chosen to be with someone else. This behavior was clearly a betrayal to me. I tried to make them understand. Their mother's choice had consequences. Our divorce was inevitable. But I assured them, I will always be there for them. I hope they will still be a part of my life. After I shared a post on Facebook, a lot of unexpected things happened. My friends and family called me, Wanting to know what happened. Vera's constant whining and negativity were now replaced by exciting dates and affectionate texts. And the attention I get from women who just want to have fun. She wasn't happy when she found out about my new life. She was mostly mad at herself. But also jealous that I didn't give her a second chance before I moved away. And was upset about that. I refused all her attempts to meet. Only dealing with her through our lawyer. I decided that Vera deserved this small amount of money. The lawyers worked hard to get my share of future income. But the court decided they couldn't base the award on what I might earn in the future. Instead, they used my average income to calculate how much I should pay. Because Vera has a job, paying alimony would not be too difficult. I agreed to pay her $2,000 a month. For 2 years. It's not a big amount. But it's enough to tide her over. Until she can stand on her own 2 feet again. Or find someone else. Obviously not me. She's not the happy person she used to be. She realized the cost of her actions too late when she was with me. She was driven by anger and selfishness. She knew what my reaction would be. But she still made a bad choice. The year-old daughter Jolene. I told Vera. I had forgiven her. But I didn't expect to find her in someone else's arms. I thanked her for the good times we had. I thank her for giving us 2 lovely daughters. Thank her for the love we shared. I advised her to focus on her future. And assured her that our past is behind us. I wished her all the best. And expressed my hope to see her at a future family event. At this time, Cheryl joined me holding our daughter. I took the opportunity to introduce them to each other. However, seeing me with my new family and our young daughters, it brought back old memories for her. The happy life she once had with me was now a memory, filling her life with remorse for the love and happiness she lost. Unfortunately, Vera chose a different path. She had hoped to continue the life we had once envisioned together. But life moves on. Cheryl and I and our daughters are enjoying building a new life and making new memories.